During the coronavirus pandemic, Sarah lived alone in her small apartment. She followed the lockdown rules strictly, working from home every day. Nights were the hardest because everything was so quiet. One evening, as Sarah was getting ready for bed, she got a strange message on her phone from an unknown number. "I'm here." She thought it was a joke and ignored it. At 3 a.m., Sarah woke up to the sound of someone coughing in her living room. She was scared because she was supposed to be alone. She grabbed her phone and slowly walked towards the sound. The coughing got louder as she got closer. When she reached the living room, the coughing stopped. Her heart was pounding as she looked around, but saw nothing unusual. She tried to calm herself down, thinking it was just her imagination. But as she turned to go back to bed, she saw it, a dark shadow standing at the end of the hallway, staring at her. Sarah froze in fear. The shadow slowly lifted its arm and pointed at her. She felt a cold chill run down her spine. Gathering her courage, she ran back to her bedroom, slammed the door shut, and locked it. She pressed her ear against the door, listening for any sound. Everything was silent. Her phone buzzed again, another message from the same unknown number. "I'm in your room." Terrified, Sarah turned around, and there it was, the dark shadow standing by her bed. It had no face, just an empty space where its face should be. The air around it felt cold and heavy. The shadow raised its arm and pointed at her again. It spoke in a creepy, hollow voice. "You can't escape me. I am the virus that haunts the living." The shadow moved quickly towards her. Sarah screamed and closed her eyes, expecting the worst. But when she opened her eyes, the shadow was gone. The room looked normal, as if nothing had happened. The messages stopped, and the shadow never appeared again. But Sarah was never the same. She always felt its presence in every shadow and corner of her apartment. She knew it was still there, watching and waiting. The virus had left a lasting mark, not just on the world, but on her soul. Every night, while the world outside fought against the virus, Sarah battled her own invisible ghost, knowing that the quarantine ghost was always near, hiding in the dark, waiting for its next move. During the coronavirus pandemic, Emma moved into an old house in the countryside. The previous owner, Thomas, had died mysteriously, but Emma didn't mind. She wanted to be alone and stay safe from the virus. On her first night, Emma found an old journal on a dusty bookshelf. It belonged to Thomas. The journal started normally, but soon became strange. Thomas wrote about hearing whispers and seeing shadows. Emma thought it was just the writings of a lonely man, and went to bed. At 2 a.m., she woke up feeling a cold breeze even though the windows were closed. She heard faint whispers coming from the hallway. She grabbed her flashlight to check it out. As she walked down the dark hallway, the whispers got louder. They seemed to say her name. Emma. Emma. At the end of the hallway, she saw a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. Emma's heart raced as the figure moved towards her. She ran back to her bedroom and locked the door. The whispers continued outside her door, mixed with a low growl. She hid under her blanket, hoping it was just a nightmare. The next day, Emma tried to forget about it. She cleaned the house to stay busy. But that night, the whispers came back, louder. "Emma! Emma!" She decided to face whatever it was. She followed the whispers to the basement with a flashlight and the journal. The air got colder as she went down the stairs, and the whispers turned into creepy laughter. In the basement, she found an old, dusty mirror. She cleaned it and saw not her own reflection, but Thomas. His mouth moved, but the sound came from behind her. "You shouldn't have come here, Emma." She turned around, and the shadowy figure was there, closer than before, with red eyes glowing. In a panic, Emma smashed the mirror, and the figure vanished. Breathing heavily, she went back upstairs and decided to leave the house the next morning. But as she packed, she noticed something scary. Her reflection in the window looked like Thomas with hollow eyes. The whispers were now inside her head. "You can't leave, Emma. You belong to the house now." She realized the house was cursed, trapping the souls of its inhabitants forever. Emma's screams echoed through the empty house as the shadows surrounded her. She had become the latest victim of the isolation house, forever trapped by its dark presence. Amelia, a nurse working during the coronavirus pandemic, was assigned to an old hospital wing used as a quarantine ward. The hospital had been closed for years after patients mysteriously disappeared. One stormy night, Amelia was alone on duty. The ward was quiet except for the rain outside. She checked on the isolated patients, each behind thick curtains. Walking down the dim corridor, Amelia heard faint whispers. They seemed to come from a closed-off room at the end of the hall. Concerned, she decided to investigate. Opening the door, she found an empty room with an old wheelchair in the middle. Confused, she turned to leave when she saw it. A shadowy figure in the wheelchair, its eyes glowing faintly. It gestured for silence. Terrified, Amelia watched as the figure moved closer, filling the room with a cold feeling. It spoke in a raspy voice. "We were left here, forgotten. We're not alone." Amelia ran back to the nurse's station, trying to catch her breath. The whispers followed her, haunting and persistent. As the storm raged outside, Amelia realized the hospital's tragic past was real. The spirits of abandoned patients had returned, seeking comfort and justice in the quarantine ward. After that night, Amelia avoided the old hospital wing, but she always felt the faint whispers in her mind, a reminder of the silent ward and its restless souls.